So once again, my name is Marc Rose. I'm sure you guys have tons of questions for food and beverage. So rather than talk about what we plan on doing from an offering perspective, because we don't fully know yet. Haven't hired a chef yet, haven't hired my staff yet. Thought maybe it would be helpful to understand a little bit of what I've done in the past leading up to here. So my business partner and I, we're a Los Angeles-based company. We own a few restaurants there. We own a New York-style Chinese restaurant called Genghis Khan. And that is a restaurant, well, we can talk about that. That's a 35-year-old restaurant in Los Angeles that we bought about 4 years ago. When we bought it, we immediately got rid of plastic. And when you think Chinese food delivery, you think plastic bags. Within a week, we were done with plastic. Only Chinese paper containers, the iconic shape that we're all used to. Then we own the Spare Room, which is a cocktail bar inside the Hollywood Roosevelt. That's a 1927 building. So in building that, we work very closely with all the historical societies, all the people that are very, very protective of what's been, LA doesn't always protect their past. So we found that we need to be responsible in doing so. So that was a great project. That's about 10 years old. But then we own an all-day cafe, Winsome, so it gave us a chance to not just be doing business in the evening, but also breakfast, lunch. As my partner and I became family men also, that was really important for our kids to be able to come and spend time with us at work. And then a couple years ago, we partnered with Graduate, and our first project with them was in Seattle, which is not too far from LA, but far enough. So the way we work is we felt it was very important to not phone that in from Los Angeles. So seeing that I had a daughter who was not even quite one yet, I packed up with my wife and my daughter. We moved to Los Angeles because the only way we felt we knew we could succeed is to be a part of the community, to learn from the community. We can't come in there and say, this is what we think the food should be. We need to understand what people wanted, how they moved in that city. It's very different from Los Angeles. So about 7 months in, David and Ben, the CEO, called me up and they said, what do you think about Nashville? So since my daughter's still not in school, we packed up again, got in the car and drove to Nashville, which is where we are now. So we're open about 5 weeks there now. We're still building our rooftop, so we're just still educating ourselves. I've been there since September. But then they called again. And this is where the tide really turned for me, because Los Angeles based, but I grew up right there. I grew up in Park Slope, Brooklyn, New York. So this was an opportunity for me to come home and change New York City. Change New York City. I think I came to Roosevelt Island once as a kid on a school trip. And there's so many of my friends who have never seen this perspective that you guys have luckily had for so long. So this is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to come here with my wife and daughter again, and we're going to come back home, so to speak. And I want to hear from you guys what you need, what you want, what you'd like to see. And we're going to do our best to give you that. Questions? I'm sure there's a lot.
How many seats?
Wait.
The
So the task force first. Sorry.
Go, Max.
The hotel, 2 restaurants, same menu, different menu?
Different menu. So I think downstairs will be an all-day experience, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. As David mentioned earlier, you can spend all day in there. You shouldn't feel necessarily pressured to order certain things. There will be some seats we really want to leave for dinner service and have people to be able to engage in that experience. And then upstairs, I would say it's more of a cocktail experience. So not a full sit-down dinner, but you can sit down, more canapes, snacks, drinks, and enjoy all of that.
Soon.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
How many seats are in the restaurant?
Right now, because the furniture's not in, I think we're tracking at, was it 88? I think about 88 seats. But again, the lobby wraps around, so we can fit more. I think it also feels great with 30 in it. It shouldn't be dependent on filling every seat all the time.
And I assume it's waiter service?
Correct. Yes.
This is more of a suggestion than a question.
I suggest that you work very closely with Rick O'Connor on blogs, so you can keep continually ask people, what kind of food do you want, what do you like about it, and keep getting constant input, because people
That's great.
love to
That's
give their
great.
comments.
We've never, as operators, had such ego that we don't listen to our customers,
Yeah, well,
because
you're
then
not
we don't,
shy about
then we
that.
don't sell food. Well, that's okay, but then we don't sell food. So we need to hear, we'll also have opinions, right? We'll have a discussion with our customers on why we think certain things work or might not work.
Right,
But we're down to try anything.
you might wanna eat in some of the places on the island, so you yourself have an idea what we've got.
I've looked,
What not to eat?
I ate at the Subway once.
Like 4 hours it's going to be.
If you're gonna sell alcohol, you should visit the state liquor authority now. It's a 6 to 9 month wait.
We have already begun the process, we're pretty close.
It's an arduous, twisted process.
Oh, I know. California is probably worse. It's pretty bad, but we understand the process, so at this point, our company owns 6 liquor licenses, so we've gone through it many, many times. I myself sat on a neighborhood council in Los Angeles for 5 years. For one of our restaurants that went into a very up-and-coming neighborhood, we wanted to be involved. We didn't want to just say, hey, yes, we're a restaurant, and we wanted to show that we were involved in stuff that was outside of our business proper. So I think the same thing here, we want to be respectful of when people drink, people do weird things sometimes, and we
I'm
want
just
to be.
saying, it's political,
Yeah,
it's different, let's put it that way, than what you might expect somewhere else. The second thing is, you should be mindful of the fact that it's not only restaurants on the island, but you have tons of restaurants right over that bridge and going this way. In fact, you really have to think about what the competition is. Because if your idea is to attract people for a meal, there's certainly a lot of other places to go.
absolutely.
And price structure.
Yes, so we want to pay attention to that both for the Islanders and for beyond. So we've been lucky enough in our careers to achieve some success, and I think this is a really big move for us to come back home. My business partner also grew up right next to the UN, staring at this island every day out of his window. So, we're kids of this city. We're happy to be partners with the graduate, but this is almost more important to us. Not from a vanity sense, but from a hometown pride sense. So I think that's why we're actually both picking up and coming here for this. That's how important it is, and we know how serious the competition is. Without us being here and seeing it every single day and understanding how to pivot, right? Certain things don't work all the time, certain times of night, certain times of day. So I appreciate that, and I want you guys to continue to tell me that stuff because we want to stay on our toes.
Okay, Christina.
Listening, so I didn't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then, the community, there are a lot of community groups, and I think that partnerships and presence at certain events throughout the year on Roosevelt Island will mean a lot. There are also several families that are, have hunger, insecurity, food insecurity. And so we really want to remember those folks. And there's a woman who couldn't be here tonight, Lynn Shinozaki, who's very, very active around Thanksgiving and throughout the year, giving back and paying it forward. And so, there will be a bunch of folks excited to meet you
Great.
and really partner. Another thing, so that's kind of a statement, and then the question is always event space and maybe hosting youth events or mentorship, and then just regular fantastic fundraising events and things.
So let me address both, even the statement. Again, going back to my past and what we do. So I grew up in New York City, right? Most buildings have community rooms.
Yeah.
That stayed in my head for my entire life, right? How to engage the community. So for space-wise, I don't know if this is a roving meeting. When we're not booked, I would love to offer our space for that. I would love to offer our space during the day. I would love to I saw today, actually for the first time, there's a PS and an IS right here.
That's right.
I went to a PS. So, also really important in my life. How can I engage those students that won't be customers of my restaurant? I know that. But you know, they're here, they're locals, I need to support them. It's almost like sponsoring the Little League team, right, on the back of their jersey, which, by the way, if there's a Little League team,
There is.
great, I wanna do it. So this is the stuff that's really, really important to me, and what we do, what I've been able to do in now 3 markets. Los Angeles, obviously living there for 18 years, so being the strongest for me. But when we left Seattle, we had some great new friends that were sad, and we were sad too, but we continue to do that. I just flew back recently for Memorial for someone. I donated all the alcohol for the after party for it. So it's really important for me to have these conversations, whether it be directly affecting my business or not. It's, you know, we're here to be a part of the community and nothing else.
And there's one thing I just want to share with you, because with the nice thing about Cornell Tech is you've got all these startups and entrepreneurial thoughts and brains towards solving problems, right? And so you already know all the problems of waste and a less of a negative impact on the environment. There are groups that are just bubbling up. I just discovered one called Deliver Zero. And they have figured out a way to have containers in every local Brooklyn restaurant, so that when people call for takeout, and I don't know if you will do takeout or not, they have these containers that go out and come back, so no single use.
That's great.
So I'm in talks with them now. I don't know where it'll lead,
I
but
would love to meet
there's
them.
a lot of really exciting things
Yeah.
out there now.
And a couple of other little programs, just
Yeah.
quickly, I'm sorry, you guys, that we worked on. We did something with some friends from Europe called Trash Tiki. So we made tiki cocktails, but we reused waste from all the local bakery shops
Cool.
near us on Los Angeles. We took all that day-old bread and reused it, and bananas they were gonna throw out. There's another company in Los Angeles we work with very closely called Imperfect Produce.
Nice.
So all the produce that the markets and Whole Foods doesn't wanna buy because it doesn't look pretty, it still tastes really good.
Yeah.
So we take that produce, then we also do fundraisers using that produce. So these are the types of things I've done in the past.
Great.
Until I educate myself more on the island and understand what's going on, I can't speak to what we will do, but I will let you know that we are open to doing all of it.
Super, thank you. Yeah, and here we call them ugly
Great.
fruits and vegetables.
Yes. Does the restaurant have a name, and also will there be reservations?
I'm open to names, you have a suggestion. We don't have a name yet, we have a whiteboard that's currently happening. And I'm sorry, what was the second part?
Reservations?
Yes, we will take reservations, we also wanna do walk-ins, we wanna afford people to do both. I've always felt the need, even in my cocktail bar, you know, you go to a bar sometimes where you're jockeying for a table and you're waiting for someone and then 5 people try. I don't like that experience. So we like people to be able to have the ability to reserve pretty much everything. Aside from the communal tables in the lobby, that's sort of a first come, first serve.
Give somebody else a chance behind Rick.
Hi, I'm Kaya.
Hi, Kai.
My family's from Seattle and I went to USC, but and now I live on the islands. We have much to talk about.
Yes,
What is the price point for the restaurant? Sorry, I came late. I missed it.
That's
And
okay.
Can you confirm delivery?
I can't confirm either at this point because I haven't created the menu yet, we haven't hired our chef yet. I will tell you, the price will always be approachable. It's important for me, it has to be approachable because there are those customers there, as we mentioned, and I want that, right? We wanna earn their business as well. But you guys are gonna be my #1 customer. If you live on the island, you're the ones who might come 3 or 4 or 5 times a week.
There's already a huge conversation with a number of parent groups about whether anxiously waiting.
And that's really important to me. And
Right.
and if we have stuff that's not, again, I
People
want
have reservations.
you and everyone else to come to us. And we'll be honest, listen, the cost of operating business is expensive also, and I think we all understand that here. But our goal isn't to gouge our guest, it's to go into it together so both parties feel good.
Rick, did you?
A suggestion for a name would be Minnehaha, which is the Indian name for Roosevelt Island, and it means nice to be here.
Okay?
So just throw that one out.
I
Do you?
think the Historical Society will co-sponsor the contest to name the restaurant, and you'll give the person a free meal when you name it. Let's have a fundraiser for the Historical Society. I mean, Minnehaha's hard to spell.
Do you plan to have music at either of your
Yeah, I think
restaurant?
there will be a playlist playing more background music, I think, downstairs. And then upstairs, I think we have an opportunity where as we're working through design now, we're trying to fit in a little Wurlitzer, so we have a little piano that can play along, even if there is ever a DJ or ever a live acoustical music set that we're doing. So I think we're just still trying to figure out what it will be on a night to night, but a little bit of everything.
So one concern I've heard from residents in Southtown, which is the section right on the other side of the bridge, is that when the music boats come across the river at night, it's really, really loud
sound
and you can hear it. So their concern is that if you have, multiple hours of music there,
Sure.
it'll affect their quality of life. So that's just something
Well,
to.
Jill might be able to speak a little bit to the windows that were put in, but I know I was up on the roof today and I could not hear the bridge and I was shocked. That being said, if there is ever, sort of someone complaining about the sound, we want to take that into account. We don't want to, if people say, hey, during the week, can we lower it this time? Can we not have amplified music at this time? We want to listen to all that too. And again, my business needs to be conducted so that everyone feels good, not just us.
And the open, sorry, just to the point, the facade and the window system really keep the sound. Again, we really felt like we could touch the bridge and couldn't hear anything. And then the part that opens up on our rooftop is actually facing the other direction. So it's not facing the residential neighborhoods, it's facing south.
Okay. Is the view from the rooftop panoramic, or is it just facing one view?
It's more or less, it's like 3 sides almost.
Yeah.
I feel like you
Yeah.
can't see that
Right,
way.
yeah, it's like.
So it's east, west, and south.
I can't wait for you guys to come up there. It's I took so many pictures. I sent the pictures to my mom today, who, by the way, is very excited that I'm coming on. But it's just breathtaking.
Can you send me the pictures?
Great.
Cool. Following on to some of the earlier points, one, just first, kudos, thank you so much for all the initiatives you've already done at your other restaurants around mitigating wasted and lost food, so awesome, thank you. The plus one on that, would love to hear, thinking, again, keep it at consultants 3, so on the wasted food, experience you've had around more thoughtful portion sizing versus the American super sizing of everything. The 2, there's a lot of interest, particularly on the island, for plant-forward menus. So, like, easy example, ancient grain bowl or whatever. It doesn't have to be the Impossible Burger, but like something that's more plant-forward. And then the another idea that I've seen that for disrupting here in New York City and reinventing it, that some folks have been interested in, would do more dynamic pricing around, like, hey, how can you use pricing as a signal to mitigate waste or mitigate more extreme resource use?
Sure. What was the first point again? I want to answer each one of those.
Portion sizing.
Portion sizing. So, I hate to put such a stereotype on Los Angeles. They're not big eaters. So we've already had to, just for business purposes, watch portion size. No, but of course, we're the same ways. We don't believe in just sopping huge portions of food. Also, the kind of food that we serve, which is all organic, free range, locally sourced. All the buzzwords that you hear these days, we've been doing that for a decade. And because of that, it's pretty expensive. So, I've had people come to my restaurant and be like, oh my God, your eggs are $8 and down the street they're $4. I was like, well, they're robbing you. Because those $4 eggs they're charging you, they paid a nickel for. My $8 eggs, I probably paid $6 for. So, anyway, food portion control is very important to me. The second thing was...
Plant forward.
Yes. Again, one of my restaurants, Winsome, which you'll see up there, and I'm happy to share menus with you, but we've been many, many days mistakenly for a vegan restaurant. Again, that's the Los Angeles influence for us. Not only plant forward, but using quality ingredients. So same thing, when we first bought the Chinese restaurant, plastic was the first thing we did. The second thing we did, without saying, oh, it's an organic Chinese restaurant, because there was nothing wrong with the Chinese restaurant before, we just started buying organic produce, hormone-free meat, sustainably caught fish, because it's important to me and my family and my daughter and my friends and anyone else that comes in there. So, and then the third thing,
Dynamic pricing.
I haven't given that so much thought in terms of this menu yet because we haven't created it, but absolutely. I mean, I hope so, and I hope that it also can change throughout seasonal changes. Right, again, something with Los Angeles, we're very spoiled. There's produce all year long. We're not going to have that here. So if all of a sudden avocado spike here, probably take that off my menu because I would have to charge you $14 for an avocado toast, and you're not gonna like me very much if I do that.
Or you'd be on the east side.
Okay,
Is that it?
all
Okay.
right, thank you
All right,
so
yeah, you're
very much
welcome.
for all that information.